financial performance of BesiCo has been bad as a result of the global surplus crisis. BesiCo experienced reduction in revenue since 2014, as you can see from the graph, due to overall slowdown in demand for local steel. It did not report any profit since 2008. Financial analysis, its profitability ratio has been negative for both 2015 and 2016. The low value of these ratios is going to affect the going concern ability of BesiCo. It shows that BesiCo's financial performance is unhealthy and inefficient. The liquidity ratio of lower than 1 implies a negative financial performance. The current ratio indicates BesiCo's inability to pay off the present-time monetary obligations with their assets. A less than 1 quick ratio might indicate that a company doesn't have enough liquid assets to cover its current liabilities.
Problem faced by Besi Corporation is whether Besi Corporation should maintain the listing status in Bursa Malaysia. This is because Besi Corporation did not report any profits since 2008. Thus, company was classified as PN17 status company. PN17 or Practice Note 17 means company having financial distress and need to submit their proposal or regularization plan to Security Commission and Bursa Malaysia to restructure and revive the company in order to maintain the listing status. Moreover, the company also had extended the deadline to submit its regularization plan about 4 times, and the fifth extension was not granted. One of possible solution is not appeal to Bursa Malaysia and become a private company. Besi Corporation will continue to exist and operates as usual but as unlisted company. The advantage are the company does not need to comply with the minimum listing requirement and regulation of the Bursa. The company does not need to incur any listing expenses and annual trading costs. However, if Besi Corporation delisted from Bursa Malaysia, the company can raise funds from the public. The company will lose the public trust saying it holds the PN17 status. It also can affect the book value of company. The share price of the company also will decline, and the company tend to pay higher rate of interest of loan because of lack of credibility. We have to bear in mind that Besi Corporation having financial distress, which is important for the company to gather funds from public investors. Next, the company can appeal to Bursa to maintain the listing status, just like Wajah Holding Berhad. Besi Corporation should allocate time to formulate the regularization plan to maintain the listing status in Bursa, which my friend will discuss in depth. Okay, then the proposal must be clear, coherent, and contain sufficient details such as forecasts and future plans for business development to enable them to be assessed by Bursa Malaysia. Thus, we can recommend Besi Corporation to submit the regularization plan to maintain the status of public listed company. It is important for the company to maintain the public listed status because as long Besi Corporation has not been delisted, their listing status still has value. This is because delisted company often portrays a serious sign of financial or managerial trouble, and it generally causes the stock price to fall. This is also important to convince the foreign Chinese investor and to ease the audit procedure to acquire an unqualified audit opinion for Besi Corporation financial statement, as the company need to comply with the criteria to be listed.
A Chinese investor responded to Charles' personal invitation to help BesiCo in terms of capital and expertise. The investor can provide capital and expertise to modernize and improve the steel production. The potential investor could save the company by reviving BesiCo. However, BesiCo has bad financial health, which makes the investor to be hesitant on his decision. The issue here is convincing the foreign investor to help BesiCo in order for it to take part in BesiCo's restructuring. To convince the Chinese investor, we propose that BesiCo prepare and submit a regularization plan to restructure and revive BesiCo, or prepare a restructuring plan. Let's look at the first option, submitting regularization plan. Regularization plan is also an issue that needs to be addressed by BesiCo, for it had been contemplating on it for years now. In order for it to attract the Chinese investor to invest into BesiCo, it needs to submit the regularization plan and have it approved by Bursa. The impact would be, once the plan is completed and presented to the investor, he will be convinced that BesiCo will be able to recover from its financial distress. BesiCo will be able to address the issues and show where it will allocate the additional funding gained. BesiCo also can stay as a listed company when the plan is implemented. The advantage of this option is we can have the company stay listed and attract other sources of funding as well. It can accommodate company's growth, enhance credibility and value of company, able to restructure company and increase working capital. However, as for the disadvantage, it requires a lot of time planning and implementing, and the cost of hiring experts for planning like legal and financial advisors. Second suggestion is prepare a restructuring plan. What we can do to assure the investor in funding BesiCo is by preparing a restructuring plan. There are two types of restructuring. First is changing its organizational structure. As we know, Charles is the chairman and the managing director of BesiCo together with his nephew Alfred as the executive director of the company. There is issue with corporate governance here, as there is a conflict of interest. A lack of effective corporate governance at the executive and management level can lead to bad business decisions, which can lower the overall value of the company and make it more difficult for the business to meet its financial obligation. To restructure, BesiCo should appoint different people for chairman and CEO. SWOT analysis can be implemented here to restructure. Second, changing its financial structure. It involves restructuring the assets and liabilities of BesiCo, including their debt to equity structures, in line with their cash flow needs to promote efficiency. It supports growth and maximizes the value of shareholders, creditors, and other stakeholders. Advantages of this is when a business eliminates layers of management during its restructuring, communication and decision-making often improve. Financial restructuring will improve BesiCo's ratios. However, the disadvantage is restructuring tends to indicate that a company is unstable and struggles to support itself. Therefore, when BesiCo restructures, investors may question the company's future. Next is resistance. Some may resist changes that they feel negatively affect their business areas, and some might not like their new role. Our suggested solution would be to prepare and submit regularization plan to restructure and revive BesiCo. It is much better to stay listed in Bursa. BesiCo needs all the additional funding it can get apart from convincing the investor to help revive BesiCo.
For the first plan, we propose cost reduction initiative by reducing labor costs. As we aware, currently BesiCo is not doing well, and its subsidiary in the steel division, which is Giant Steel, only managed to pay their labor half of the amount that should be received by them since January. Giant Steel has retrenched workers for quite a lot of time. Currently, they decided to retrench another 800 workers resulted from their unsuccessful operation. In order to make BesiCo great again, it is advisable to cut the labor costs by proceeding the retrenchment process. However, BesiCo needs to consider some ways of retrenchment and carefully follow the retrenchment guidelines together with the Employment Act. Comprehensive retrenchment guideline prepared by Ministry of Human Resources, the Malaysian Council of Employers Organisation, and the Malaysian Trades Union Congress required BesiCo to follow these 4 steps. The first one is criteria to be selected. BesiCo need to set out well-documented objective criteria for the selection of employees to be retrenched or to be retrained. Generally, companies will use the last-in, first-out method, where the most junior employees would be retrenched first compared to those who serve the company longer. The second step, BesiCo to provide the employee with notice and is compulsory to do so. Length of the notice depends on the terms of employment contract or the collective agreement. The third step, BesiCo need to report the retrenchment to relevant authorities. If BesiCo fail to do so, BesiCo can be fined amounted to 10,000 ringgit. Under Employment Retrenchment Notification 2004, employers required to complete the employment notification form. The form consists parts which must be lodged with the nearest labour office. The last step is BesiCo need to pay retrenchment benefit for workers who are being retrenched. The amount to be paid depends on the length of services. If employers fail to provide retrenchment benefits, solid reasons must be given. Failure to do so may entitle the retrenched employee to lodge a complaint for unfair and unjust termination. Since the proposed plan is to proceed with retrenchment, BesiCo must conduct the retrenchment according to the step explained just now. By doing so, it will give a win-win situation to the company and the retrenched workers. Avoid unnecessary things in order to reduce the possibility to be involved in legal issues. But also said employers must take all measures under the Code of Conduct for industrial harmony before conducting a retrenchment exercise. It is important that employers abide by the various guidelines and criteria provided to ensure the retrenchment exercise is administered in a lawful manner. BesiCo can choose to exercise partial method by using valuation separation scheme. For partial, BesiCo need to select and filter potential workers to be remain in the company. By using this method, not everyone will be selected. If BesiCo proceed to use this method, it is advisable to retrench those who are unskilled and inexperienced in order to cut costs and also to ensure the effectiveness of the company are being well managed. Under valuation separation scheme, BesiCo need to make an announcement addressed to the employees that invites applications to be considered for the valuation separation scheme. BesiCo will talk about the terms and conditions of the scheme. Ultimately, the company has the right to accept or reject the application of the employee. Additionally, in order to attract the required numbers of applications, the VSS package should be sufficiently attractive. A well-drafted airtight VSS will make it more difficult for retrenched employees to challenge this in the Malaysian court. The second proposed regularization plan is disposal. BesiCo to dispose its property division. This is due to tightening measures by Bank Negara Malaysia to curb rising household debt and cautious spending among consumers since GST eras. Property division is being disposed rather than Giant Steel because we believe that the uptrend of steel industry in future due to large domestic infrastructure projects. That is why Giant Steel will be kept for the opportunity in the future. Next, we propose that BesiCo to dispose a few hectares of land under the Properties Divisions project. It is advisable to dispose some lands through its subsidiary since the demand under the Property Division will not be great in the future. By doing this, it will help BesiCo to get fast money to pay their obligations and improve the working capital. Implementation of Industry Revaluation 4.0. This opportunity gives steel industry to expand with the help of technological advancement. BesiCo can take this opportunity to invest in digitization, which can create a better supply chain integration, order management, and demand forecasting. With this implementation, BesiCo can expand its business through online platforms. Technological advancement enables steel company to track every aspect in a steel plant, such as production safety, quality, and also energy usage.
Next is improving price policy. BesiCo need to revise the company price policy. As we know, price policy refers to the way a company set the prices of its service and products based on their value, demand, cost of production, and the market competition. They need to revise it in order to resolve the problem where buyers are complaining the price is so high, more than the competitor's price, but the quality fluctuates and does not meet their satisfaction. BesiCo need to overview the price, consider the cost, analyze the demand and market competition, so the decision of a new price will be reasonable and acceptable. By revising the price policy, it will benefit the company, as it gives advantages to them. Not only the price can be more realistic, it also increases the sale value, hence will attract the customer interest to the products. It also encourages Giant Steel to continue production and make quality product as the new price policy benefit them and other stakeholders. Next, taking competitive advantage. There is future demand for steel metal, which is fundamentally driven by progression of large domestic infrastructure projects such as MRT2, LRT Line 3, TRX, high-rise buildings, and private construction projects. Therefore, BesiCo need to take the opportunity in order to make Giant Steel continue operation. Even though the safeguard is lower, but the huge opportunity is worth risking for. By doing so, it will gain profit. Hence, BesiCo can gain trust from the investor. The next plan is to propose capital reduction. What is proposed capital reduction? It is an accounting procedure that reduces the company's existing share capital to write off accumulated losses. It represents merely a change in the composition of reserve and does not entail any outflow of cash or change to the company's asset. The purpose why BesiCo needs to propose capital reduction: first, it can eliminate its accumulated losses with a view to restore the finance of the companies. Hence, it serves to rationalize the balance sheet of the company to reflect more accurately the value of its underlying asset and the financial position of the company. In addition, it facilitates future equity-related fundraising exercise to recapitalize and strengthen balance sheet of the company. Furthermore, BesiCo would also be in a better position to retain profits and enhance its ability to pay dividends in the future as and when appropriate if the accumulated losses are written off. Therefore, the director of BesiCo will take into consideration the present and future funding needs to their company and group before declaring any dividends. Next, the board has also taken into consideration that proposed capital reduction will not result in any change to the net asset position of the group and will not result in any adjustment to the share price of BesiCo nor the numbers of shares held by the shareholders. Improving furniture division. There is the issue in the furniture division where demand for export and domestic markets for steel furniture was stagnant due to highly competitive pricing pressure, especially from the inflow of China's steel furniture. Thus, BesiCo needs to find the solution in order to improve the division. We provide some recommendations include to build a reputation. In order to make the division visible, BesiCo needs to build a reputation so that the division is exposed and known to other stakeholders. Plus, it helps the division to increase profitability. There are strategies how to build furniture division reputation includes: first, product placement. It is a strategy that involves one product to appear in a movie, television, radio program, magazine and internet, commercial or at any special events. Next, sponsorship. It occurs when a company spends money to support an issue, cause or event that is consistent with corporate objectives such as improving brand awareness or enhancing corporate image. By sponsoring event or charity is a popular method of getting positive exposure for the company or a product. Last, investor relations. BesiCo needs to maintaining positive relationship with shareholders and others in the financial community.
There are 5 audit queries that have been issued by the auditor, which are: first, about the company going concerns and future plan; second, deferred tax assets; third, PPE and impairment; fourth, inventory; and fifth, 1 year's contract. To answer these queries, BesiCo need to provide justification with supported evidence to convince the auditor so that they may change their opinion. To justify the first query, after considering the uncertainty of BesiCo going concerns, we believe that the result from the proposed regularization plan will enable the BesiCo to generate sufficient cash flow to meet its obligation and to improve the cash flow of the group. For this reason, we also believe that the group will be able to continue its operational existence for the foreseeable future. For the future plan, BesiCo will first, develop a good performance measurement system to ensure that the strategy implemented has continued improvement from time to time. Second, use hedging principle of financings. Third, looking for any term loans that can be reamortized. Fourth, reduce debt service expenses by stopping incurring more debts or negotiate with creditor for low interest rate and processing fees. And the last one is to minimize or avoid any unnecessary future expenses by examining the budget and breaking it down to its component. In deferred tax assets, we have been undertaking certain measures to improve the company liquidities and financial position. We believe that the result from the proposed measure will enable the company to generate sufficient future taxable profits, against which the losses and capital allowance can be utilized. Therefore, it is appropriate to continue to record the deferred tax asset of RM378 million despite the losses in the recent year, so that the unused losses during the year can be carried forward to reduce the tax expense.
And I'm going to continue to give further justifications regarding the audit query. Okay, the justification of the query on impairment loss are as follows. During the financial year, BesiCo did not perform any assessment of impairment on the property, plant and equipment impairment of Giant Steel due to the temporary cease operation, and there is no indication to do the impairment. In addition, it is expected that the operation will be continued in the future based on the regularization plan presented earlier. There could be an additional impairment losses which may be required to be recognized in the statement of profit and loss, as the impairment loss has only been reflected in the statement of financial position. Thus, there is no effect on asset revaluation reserve. These justifications are made based on MFRS 136 impairment of asset, para 9. Okay, moving on to the next query, which is to justify the query for inventories item. The inventories, which comprise of spares, supplies and consumables, have the indications that the cost of inventories might not be recoverable. Therefore, we believe that the inventories of 104 million ringgit should be measured at cost, since the cost cannot be recoverable because of the inventories have become fully obsolete due to the temporary cease operation, and the cost of raw materials have increased. These justifications are made based on MFRS 102 inventories para 28. The query is on the provision of owner's contract. We should recognize the provision because Giant Steel has a legal obligation as a result of past event. It is also probable that an outflow of resources embodying economic benefits will be required to settle the obligation, and a reliable estimate can be made of the amount of the obligation. The provision needs to be recognized to reflect the onerous contract in the financial statement, as it will affect the parent's company financial statement. The justification is made based on MFRS 137 provision contingent liabilities and contingent assets para 14. Since both Giant Steel and Siti RI had shut down the operations, the provision should be reversed, as it is no longer probable that an outflow of resources embodying economic benefits will be required to settle the obligation. The justification is based on MFRS 137 provision contingent liabilities and contingent assets para 59. Based on the discussed issues and problems, BesiCo might continue to face greater financial distress and eventually disappear from the industry without undertaking the suggested measures that was explained earlier. Therefore, BesiCo should take reasonable actions so that the group can be great again in the future. That's all from us. Thank you.